Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another video on the Neurodivergent Ninja. Now, the previous video, if you've seen it, about me talking about Jurgen Klopp and everything like that, seems like it's not linked with anything we've been doing. Formula One, Neurodivergent chats, got nothing to do with it. But in a weird way, it had everything to do with one of them. Why do I say that? Well, that news came out, was it last Friday, 26th of January, and I'm sitting at my work laptop at work, and Thursday comes along, and my fellow colleague, who um, he likes his Formula One as much as I do, um, and he's also a Man United fan, so he's a bit of a tease to me regularly. In fact, basically everyone that I love, he doesn't love. Right? It's one of those, in a comical way. He comes up to me with the biggest freaking smile on his face and goes, "Hey, you see the news about Hamilton?" And my face just goes, I'm like, "Don't you dare. I'm literally just dealing with Jurgen Klopp. I need time to recover. Don't start telling me about Hamilton. You better not tell me that Hamilton's retired. Please do not." That was my first thought, was Hamilton retiring. Boy, was I not prepared for the news that came my way on Thursday. Lewis Hamilton is leaving Mercedes at the end of this year and joining Ferrari. What happened? What just happened? Am I in like a fever dream? What is going on? What is going on? Like, I like my Ferrari. I like Hamilton. I never thought they would ever join up. I used to hear rumours about it that, oh, Hamilton likes red. Hamilton has a Ferrari. Hamilton likes Ferrari. And I'm like, yeah, but that's just rumours. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. It's just happened. But why? What is going on? Why now? Why this? Why that? Just why everything, to be quite honest. And we're going to start delving into that. If we're going to be looking into a couple of things, we're going to look into the timing of it because it does seem a little bit unusual. We're going to look into why it could be a good or bad fit for Hamilton next year. I'm going to look at what Hamilton will make of everything, and then we'll look at what Mercedes make of everything. So let's look into that, shall we? Shall we look into all that together? Let's start off with the timing. The timing seems a little bit weird. It always feels a little bit weird when they announce that a driver is moving teams or leaving a team before they've even started the season with that team. It felt weird when Ferrari dropped Vettel and he was still doing a season with them. It felt weird on those sort of fronts. It felt weird when halfway through the season, Oscar Piastri was signing for McLaren, whilst Daniel Ricciardo was still at McLaren. It always feels weird. And why does it feel weird? Well, because that basically means you have a year with your employers knowing they're not going to be your employers by the end of that year. Like, does that demotivate you? Does it demotivate them? Does it mean that they don't support you as much? It raises a lot of questions. Always raises a lot of questions. But actually, it seems like there was a very, very good reason why. Hamilton obviously had the 1 year left on his contract. He's not broken a contract. He's got a release on it. And Lando Norris had just signed a multi-year extension on his deal with McLaren. So that seat was all signed up. Charles Leclerc then signs the equivalent of a lifetime extension with Ferrari. And then the rumours start going around that Carlos Sainz is potentially going in for an extension talks. Hamilton probably looked at that and went, it's bad timing, but if there's ever a time where I want to ask about it, it's now. Which is what has started everything off. That's a simple thing with the timing. It's one of those weird ones. It is the wrong timing, but it was the only timing that was suitable and acceptable for the situation. Maybe teams will learn from this and basically go, let's not do contract talks right at the start of the year, but oh well, we're going to have to deal with it. But that's how it is. But Ferrari itself, is it a good fit for Hamilton? In a weird way, yes, hopefully. What do I mean by that? Well, let's start off with the boss of Ferrari, Fred Vasseur, someone who looked after Hamilton during the start of his season, his career. Sorry, someone who knows Hamilton very well, someone who is a friend of Hamilton as well. Charles Leclerc as well, very much adores Hamilton. Maybe Hamilton. I'm the way I'm viewing it is Hamilton needs to be a team that views him neutrally, doesn't view him as a star or question something, anything like that. Because if I'm being honest, it started to feel a little bit weird with him and Russell. Like we didn't know who was getting the treatment, and it was weird because you've got an up and coming driver, and then something just felt off, and I couldn't work out what it was. And I think by having this fresh start and the fresh voices, I think it's going to be a great fit. Think about what the weaknesses have been for Ferrari recently. Strategy. Hamilton is the king of strategy. The engine. I think they've convinced him that the engine is going to be good enough, right? And Hamilton is one of those who he looks after the car. Reminds me a bit of Jim Clark. Jim Clark back in the 60s. He was it 60s or 70s, one of the two. Drove for Lotus, and people could tell which car was Jim Clark's because his car looked in better condition compared to everyone else's because he took care of the car during the race. He still drove the nuts off it, but looked after it. Hamilton does exactly the same. And if there's anyone that I can imagine looking after the engines, looking after the electrics to the nth degree, it's going to be Hamilton. If anyone's going to give this Ferrari situation a go, clear everything up and make it better, it's going to be Hamilton. It almost seems to me like Ferrari, like they just need the final two pieces putting together, and Hamilton is going to help put that together. I think it's a great fit. I think it's going to work great for Hamilton. I think it's going to work great for Ferrari. I think it's going to work great for Charles Leclerc. And I think this is a good way to go. Very special way to go. And be really interesting to see how long this Ferrari and Hamilton relationship lasts. Really, really cool. But the juicy stuff is when we start talking about Mercedes. See, the first funny thing is, does anyone remember, I think was it 2 years ago, Toto Wolff made the comment going, we are going to give Hamilton his 8th title. Well, Toto, this year is your year to see if you can follow through on that promise. If you have a championship winning car, which not sure if you do, are you going to give Hamilton the preferential treatment or Russell? Because Russell's the one that's staying with you and Hamilton's the one leaving you. Like, do you fall back on your promise and screw Hamilton over? Or do you give him the 8th world title and then he goes, oh, thanks for the 8th, Toto, bye! Like, it's going to be a bit weird, isn't it? Now, I personally think he's just going to hold back and just go, right, you guys race. And I think that'll be a smart move because that will really give Russell the opportunity to flex his muscles. Show everyone what a good driver you still have got in your team in George Russell, because you do, but I still think there's things to prove. But everyone is now talking about what of Mercedes, the Mercedes seat, what of Carlos Sainz. Now, I have a suggestion for Carlos Sainz, and that is to go to the Alfa Romeo team that's going to become the Audi team, because your dad has a part to play in that. It's going to be a big part of it. So we still have Mercedes seats there. Now, people have been talking about Alonso. People have been talking about Carlos Sainz going to Mercedes. I'm not sure about that. There have been some people that have said, could Vettel make a comeback? That would be fun. Very interesting. I've also seen some jokes about Latifi joining Mercedes, which, if you think about it, that brings back the Williams pairing at Mercedes, which is like, what? What just happened? But I want to throw in a different name that I think would be ideal for the Mercedes seat. And I am sure that as soon as I utter the name, people are going to laugh at me. The person that I think would be perfect for the Mercedes seat next year is Sergio Perez. Ninja, you did just say that, yeah? Sergio Perez for the Mercedes seat. Now, hold on. This guy was a meme last year, when he was battling with Verstappen. Why the hell am I suggesting Sergio Perez? Do I want Mercedes to flop? Do I want them to crash and burn as much as he was crashing into the walls? Do I want them to be qualifying P20? No, not at all. Not at all to any of those questions. But I think Mercedes and Sergio Perez could be an ideal fit for each other. Think about the glory days of Sergio Perez. Does anyone remember how he won the Sakir Grand Prix from 2020? You know, that race that Hamilton got COVID and it was a bit of a free-for-all, and he performed better than anybody else and won his first race. Does anyone remember the circumstances surrounding that? Where he was after the first lap? He was last. Not only last, he was part of an incident which meant that he had to go to the pits to completely repair everything. So not only was he was last and 20 seconds behind. He was in dire straits. It looked like it was going to be a miracle for him to get points. And he won the race from there. How did he do that? By taking care of the car. If there's anyone that is able to extend the life of the tyres, barring Alex Albon, it's Sergio Perez. And actually, you look at the Mercedes last year, it was a good car, but it was a bit of a diva. Like, the circumstances had to be absolutely ideal for it to work and function appropriately. And you know what? It did. But Sergio Perez would be that guy that could find the sweet spot, could find the perfect way to drive it, could look after the tyres, and do wonders with that car. So that's why I'm suggesting Sergio Perez for the Mercedes seat. I think it'd be special. Now, I've just basically started off a little bit of a domino effect here, because Sergio Perez leaves Red Bull. I've got a Red Bull seat that I've got to play around with. Am I going to put Alonso there? I'm going to put Albon there. Am I going to put Vettel there? I don't. Not Latifi, of course. Well, this is the thing. I actually solved two problems with this idea. Does anyone remember what happened with the two Red Bull teams last year? Who was there? Look at the AlphaTauri team, which is now being like the V-Carb team or whatever it is, right? Who were the drivers there? You had Yuki Tsunoda, yes, and he was a nailed on for a seat in Formula One. You had Nick De Vries, who I don't know what happened to that guy. I don't know what happened to that guy. You had Daniel Ricciardo performing brilliantly. You had Liam Lawson performing brilliantly. You got 4 drivers and 4 seats to fill. Verstappen, Tsunoda, Ricciardo, Lawson. Lawson for one of the sister team seats, and Verstappen for one of the top team seats. You got Ricciardo and Tsunoda. Now, I don't care which one you put in which. I think both of them, Tsunoda or Ricciardo, would be a perfect, ideal shoe-in for the Red Bull second seats. But that could sort everything out. Because, truth be told, Ricciardo deserves a full-time seat, a full season seat. Liam Lawson deserves a full season seat. And Tsunoda deserves a full season seat. So that is where I think that should go. Now, I also mentioned about Carlos Sainz moving to what is going to be the Audi team, which means Bottas and Guan Yu Zhou, one of them's going to have to move on. And brutally, I think this could be the start of the end of Valtteri Bottas. Wonderful Finn. He's been the enjoyable one of all the Finnish drivers we've had, whether that be Keke Rosberg, whether that be Mika Hakkinen, whether that be Kimi Räikkönen. Valtteri Bottas has been the most enjoyable one in terms of, like, out of the 4 of them, he's the one I'd hug, if that makes sense. He's the friendly one of the lot. And it'd be sad to see him lose a seat out of all of this. But he's been a brilliant driver. He's deserved a world championship. He's just been outclassed. He's been at the wrong place at the wrong time. And honestly, Valtteri Bottas has changed my perception of the Finnish people as a whole. Barring Syria, of course. Because Mika Hakkinen was a bit cold. Like, he answered yes to any questions that he didn't understand. Kimi Räikkönen, what was he known as? The Iceman. Ice cold. Like, and very temperamental. Valtteri Bottas was enjoyable to watch. He was friendly. He was lovable. Even the times when he was a little bit aggressive. Do you remember the to all those who are watching FU or something like that when he won? Even that sounded meme worthy. Like, he's been enjoyable to watch. And Valtteri Bottas, if this does spell the end of your Formula One career, thank you for the fun that you provided, for the excitement you provided, for the laughs that you provided, for being the one that allowed us to enjoy Mercedes. Because truth be told, you did. Really special. Really glad to see you. So, Hamilton to Ferrari is happening. It's going to be interesting for sure. There's going to be a lot of new things to do, a lot of new things to get to grips with. But there's one thing for sure. Even if the next 2 seasons of Formula One race-wise become the most boring, just because of the Hamilton relationship with Mercedes this year and the Hamilton relationship with Ferrari next year, it's still going to be dramatic. I am looking forward to enjoying the journey with you.